შეგვიძლია განსაკუთრებული ბავშვი არასდროს არ ყოფილა, ყველა შეუძლია რომ დამეთანხმოს აქედან. მაგრამ ჩემი ერთი პატარა რჩევა არის, რომ საკუთარ თავში არასდროს არ აკარგოთ წმენა, აზრი არ აქვს, საიდან მოდიხარ თუ იცი საიდანაც მივიღარ. ისე რომ მადლობა ყველას ხმას მისცემ.
Ilia Topuria is a killer. El Matador, the dude who slept Max Holloway, starched Charles Oliveira in a round, and became an undefeated two-division UFC champ. Pound for pound king, he seemed absolutely invincible until he stepped into a fight where his fists are useless. Because just as he was supposed to be defending his throne and building his legacy, Topuria dropped a bomb on the MMA world. He's out. No fights in early 2026. And the reason? A personal hell he never saw coming. Let's rewind to the peak. June 28, 2025. UFC 317. The moment Ilia flatlines Oliveira. The arena is pure chaos. Dana White is wrapping that second UFC belt around his waist. And right there in the Octagon, celebrating like it's the best day of her life, is his wife, Georgina. She's holding both belts. They're taking pictures, the perfect champion power couple. Everything is golden. Fast forward just 4 months. October 2025. Fans start noticing something's off. Way off. Overnight, Georgina scrubs Ilia from her Instagram. Every post, every picture, gone. She unfollows him. But Ilia? He's still following her, leaving old family photos up. It's a digital ghosting, and when you're the second biggest star on UFC Instagram after Conor McGregor, people see this stuff instantly. The rumors exploded. Are they done? What happened between the glory of UFC 317 and this total social media meltdown? This wasn't some fling. This was a marriage with 2 kids. They tied the knot in 2024. Their son Hugo is about 6. Their daughter, little Georgina, was born in July 2024. Just a baby. Think about that timeline. She gives birth. A year later, he's a double champ. They're celebrating in the cage. 3 months after that, the marriage implodes online. It's a whiplash-inducing fall from grace. The social media purge was just a warning shot. By November 2025, Spanish media confirms it. Georgina has officially filed for divorce. And she's not going quietly. She's pursuing 50% of Ilia's assets. With his net worth estimated over $2 million, we're talking a potential $1 million split. Plus, the Real fight begins. A custody battle over their 2 young children. Here's where it slams into his fighting life. The UFC already had his next blockbuster lined up. Ilia Topuria versus Paddy Pimblett for UFC 324 on January 31st. His first lightweight title defense. His chance to prove he owned the 155-pound division. But on November 27th, Ilia posts the announcement that changes everything. He won't fight in Q1 of 2026. He's in a difficult personal moment, needs to focus on his kids, and doesn't want to hold up the division. Most fighters would hide behind an injury. Ilia just told the truth. And everyone reading it knew exactly what it meant. Divorce court, custody hearings, a personal life in freefall. But the most heartbreaking moment came just days later. A simple 7-word Instagram post from Ilia that hit fans like a gut punch. I miss you every day, my little girl. The pound-for-pound baddest man on the planet can't see his own baby daughter. And the crazy part? The one guy who reached out with total understanding was the last person you'd expect. When Ilia Topuria posted that he was stepping away to deal with his kids, one fighter's response said it all. It wasn't a rival talking trash. It was the man whose skull he cracked to win his first title, Max Holloway. And Max's message was a chilling warning from someone who's already lived this nightmare. I know the struggle firsthand trying to fight while protecting your kids. Because Max fought a 5-year custody war. And he says it was the hardest fight of his life. Let that sink in. The guy who went to war with Jose Aldo, Dustin Poirier, and took Ilia's best shot says a custody battle was worse. Max divorced his first wife, Kamana, back in 2017. They had a son, Rush. For half a decade, 5 years, Max was in and out of court, fighting for his boy while trying to stay at the top of the featherweight division. The emotional toll was brutal. The legal dates clashed with training camps. The stress was constant. It didn't end until August 2025, when his current wife, Alessa, finally adopted Rush after years of the kid asking for it. Max wasn't alone in seeing the writing on the wall. Former champ Sean O'Malley chimed in, saying he genuinely feels for Ilia because when kids are involved, it gets particularly messy. It's not just money, it's visitation, holidays, schedules, logistical and emotional minefield you navigate while preparing to fight killers. This is the support system Ilia has. Guys who know the Octagon is easier than family court. Then the plot thickened. Noted MMA commentator, the MMA guru, dropped a cryptic bomb. He said, based on his sources, he understands why Ilia stepped away, that the coming divorce will be messy as fuck, and that there's a specific allegation Ilia will have to overcome. One his ex-wife could use to seek full custody. He didn't specify. It's all rumor, but the fact it's even out there tells you how ugly this could get. We're talking about a potential nuclear option in a custody fight. The UFC can't press pause on its $7.7 billion Paramount era for anyone. With Ilia sidelined, Dana White moved fast. The new main event for UFC 324 on January 24th, 2026? Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett for the interim lightweight championship. The winner faces Ilia when he returns. On paper, it makes sense. The division must move. But for Ilia, brutal. He just won the real belt, and now he has to watch two other guys fight for a copy while he's stuck in legal hell. Not everyone was happy. The actual number one contender, Arman Tsarukyan, posted in frustration. Make it make sense. He's right. He just beat Dan Hooker. Paddy Pimblett, ranked number 5, hasn't beaten a current top 10 guy. Even Hooker himself said the UFC was cherry-picking Paddy for a shot. But business is business. Paddy sells? So the interim title fight gets made not purely on merit, but because the real champ is in a personal war, he might be losing. So let's get this straight. Ilia Topuria is 28, in his prime, the undisputed king. But his reign is frozen. His legacy is on hold. A potential allegation hangs over his head. An entire MMA world is watching his private life play out in real time. But what actually shattered this picture-perfect marriage? The clues aren't in a cage. They're in the cryptic messages they're now sending each other through Instagram. So what actually blew up the Topurias? Neither Ilia nor Georgina is doing tell-all interviews. There's no public dirt. Instead, they're communicating the way modern exes do, through painfully cryptic Instagram posts that say everything by saying nothing. And if you read between the lines, you see the blueprint of a divorce that's about to get vicious. First, who are they? They met in Miami around 2018, a classic fighter and his queen story. Dated for years, married in 2024, had their 2 kids. Georgina wasn't just a cage-side accessory. She's a legit businesswoman, running a company called Future and energy focused on sustainability. She's sharp, educated, and successful in her own right. Ilia constantly preached that family was his biggest motivation, that his legacy was for his kids. From the outside, it was the perfect blend of power, love, and ambition. After the split went public, their feeds became opposing press releases. Georgina posted a long, poignant message about motherhood. A mother's true superpower is building a world where her daughter can grow up brave, free, and unafraid. My mission is to give you the tools to be strong. The example of integrity, not a single mention of Ilia. But the subtext screamed, I'm building a safe world without you. Ilia's response? That devastating 7-word post, I miss you every day, my little girl, with a photo of him kissing his daughter. No mention of Georgina. This is Divorce 2025. Speaking past each other to millions using your kids as the medium. It's the digital version of not being able to be in the same room. What changed after that iconic UFC 317 win? We can only speculate. The pressure of being a double champ is immense. The time away for camps is brutal on families. Maybe fame changed the dynamic. Maybe it was something totally unrelated to fighting. The only evidence is that cryptic rumor from the MMA guru about an allegation in the custody fight. But without facts, that's just noise. The truth is their private reasons are locked in legal filings. This situation exposes the brutal truth for fighter families. Max Holloway spelled it out. Trying to fight while protecting your kids is an impossible struggle. The court dates don't care about your fight camp. The stress doesn't care about your weight cut. You're trying to strategize for a world-class athlete while also strategizing with lawyers to see your children. It's a mental war on two fronts, and one has nothing to do with jiu-jitsu or striking. Think about the irony. Ilia Topuria is a master of controlled violence. In the Octagon, he solves problems with devastating precision. But this problem, a broken family, a custody battle, can't be solved with a knockout. You can't submit a divorce filing. The very skills that made him a champion are useless here. He's in a realm where patience, lawyers, and emotional endurance are the only tools that work. So now Ilia is stuck. The UFC 324 card he was supposed to headline is stacked without him. Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes, Sean O'Malley's return. It's a flagship event of the new era, and the lightweight champ is a spectator. But the scariest question isn't about the next fight. It's about time. Because if Max Holloway's 5-year custody war is the blueprint, Ilia Topuria's fighting prime could be over before he even steps back in the cage. Ilia Topuria is 17-0. He's never lost. But right now he's getting dominated. Not by a fighter, but by a calendar. Because custody battles run on their own brutal timeline. And the clock is ticking on his championship reign, his prime, and his relationship with his kids. The UFC has moved on with an interim title. The question is, when the real champ returns, what will be left for him? UFC 324 will crown an interim lightweight champion, either Justin Gaethje or Paddy Pimblett. The guy will get media attention, sponsor deals, and walk around calling himself a UFC champ. For fans and the casual audience, that interim belt starts to feel real the longer Ilia is gone. If he's out for a year, does the undisputed champ return as an afterthought? The UFC's business move makes sense, but it inherently devalues Ilia's actual achievement. Here's the haunting part. Ilia said he'd be back after the first quarter of 2026, maybe April or May. But what if the custody fight isn't settled? Max Holloway's war took 5 years. What if this drags on with appeals and hearings? What if the rumored allegation turns into a prolonged legal nightmare? The UFC isn't going to freeze the 155-pound division for that long. They'll book the interim champ to defend, creating a whole new storyline Ilia isn't part of. Ilia is 28. These are supposed to be his legacy-making years. The years where you defend titles, have super fights, and cement your name among the all-time greats. Instead, his prime energy is going to depositions and parenting plans. Every month he's away, a younger, hungrier contender rises. Islam Makhachev is eyeing welterweight. New killers are emerging. The sport moves fast and it doesn't wait. Strip away the belts and the hype. At its core, this is a human story. A father of two, a 6-year-old boy and a 1-year-old girl, is fighting to be in their lives. His Instagram post about missing his daughter wasn't for clicks. It was a raw glimpse of that pain. No amount of money or fame fixes that ache. As Sean O'Malley noted, when kids are involved, it hits different. This is the part of the fighter lifestyle no one sells on posters. Ilia built his brand on being unstoppable, a matador of men. But his legacy is now split into two conflicting chapters. Chapter 1, the invincible champion. Chapter 2, the vulnerable father. How fans remember him will depend on what happens next. If he comes back and reclaims his throne, this becomes a heroic hiatus. If he comes back diminished or the legal battle breaks him, it becomes a tragic what if. So where does this leave us? The most dominant force in the UFC is in exile, not by injury, but by life. He's learning the hardest lesson any athlete can learn. Some fights can't be won with physical prowess. The system, the emotions, the law, they're a different game. Max Holloway sent that message as a warning and a show of solidarity. Protecting your kids is the ultimate fight. Ilia Topuria, the pound-for-pound king, will be back. He's too talented, too driven to stay away. But he'll return changed. He'll have the scars of a battle that leaves no visible marks, but reshapes a man. He might get his belts back. He might add more highlights to his reel. But right now, in this moment, he's not a champion. He's just a father, missing his little girl, hoping that when the final gavel falls, he still gets to be her dad. And in the end, no championship in the world is worth more than that.